Hey, what's going on guys? Tanmay for Simple Snippets and welcome back to a new video tutorial under operating systems, especially the process management part. And as the title of the video suggests, today we are going to be taking a look at what is a deadlock in operating systems. So this is kind of a very important topic under operating systems, and if you're an IT student, if you're a computer science student, this question is definitely going to be asked in your exams or in your interviews, and it can also come in your technical aptitude. So basically it is a very conceptual subject which essentially every technology student should know about, and sometimes even in interviews what is a deadlock is being asked a lot of times. So in this video we are going to be understanding everything in detail about what is a deadlock, how does it happen. We'll take a real world scenario and we'll compare it with the operating system scenario, and after that we'll discuss about the important conditions that need to occur in the system for a deadlock to happen. And lastly we'll also discuss in theory about how to manage and deal with this deadlock situation, how to recover or how to detect these deadlocks, and we'll see some strategies which are used to perform deadlock avoidance or deadlock prevention or deadlock recovery. So with that being said, let's start off with today's topic, and make sure you watch this video till the end, because by the end you'll understand everything related to deadlock in terms of theory. So starting off, what is a deadlock? So as you can see on the screen, I have a little bit of theory on deadlock. Let's just read it and then we'll see a diagrammatic representation. So a process in operating system uses different resources and uses resources in the following way. So whenever a process is running in the background or in the foreground, or whenever you are opening an application, closing an application, using an application, there are n number of processes that are happening in the background, and these processes access certain resources on the system, right? So what happens is, the first step is the process requests for that resource, then the process uses that resource, and lastly it releases that resource. So this is what happens step by step whenever a process is going to access a resource, right? And resources in a computer system can be files, can be databases, can be other processes, can be input-output operations, can access certain library files, or a process wants a hardware access. For example, if you are connected to a printer, maybe a process wants the access of that printer to print certain pages, and so on and so forth. So there can be n number of different types of resources in a computer system which a process might want. Now deadlock is a situation where a set of processes are blocked because each process is holding a resource and waiting for another resource acquired by some other process. Now if you read it for the first time, it might not be that clear. So let's see a real world scenario of a deadlock which happens in our day-to-day lives. Okay, so this is a basic scenario of a road traffic deadlock situation. So as you can see on the diagram, these rectangular boxes in different colors are basically cars. Just assume that they are cars, and these white lines are basically roads. Now you can see that these green set of cars are traveling in this direction. They are blocked over here because there are different set of red color cars which are traveling in this direction starting from left to right. Again, these red color cars are blocked over here by blue cars which are traveling from bottom to top direction. The blue color cars are blocked over here because of these yellow cars which are traveling from right to left. Now this is a situation of a deadlock in real world scenario, and if you are specifically from Mumbai or a city in India which is heavily populated, this is our regular situation. It's not nothing new to us, but yeah, this is something that happens in the real world scenario in a road traffic situation. Now if you observe, no car can move ahead because all of them are blocked by some other cars. The green ones cannot move ahead because they are blocked by red. Red ones cannot move ahead because they are blocked by blue. The blue ones cannot go ahead because of yellow, and yellow can't go ahead because of green. So basically this becomes a complete circular cycle where every car is waiting for other car to move ahead, but they cannot move ahead because they are indirectly blocking each other itself. So now taking this real world scenario into mind, let's see what happens in an operating system scenario. Okay, so here's a diagram for an operating system deadlock situation. It's a very simple diagram. So in the yellow circles we have process P1 and process P2. So this P1 is process 1, P2 is process 2. In the green square boxes we have resource R1 and resource R2. So this might be something like files, this might be something like a database, and so on. Okay. Now here's a situation. P1 holds R2, which means that this database R2 is already assigned to P1. Okay. So P1 has complete access of this database R2, but P1 now wants R1, which is a file. Okay, so let's say P1 is a process which copies certain values from the database and is going to print it in the file. So that's why P1 wants access of the file. but P1 is not able to access R1 because R1, that is this file, is allocated to P2. So P2 holds R2. Okay. Now P2 wants control of the database, that is resource 2. So P2 requests for R2, but P2 cannot access R2 because R2 is assigned to P1. So you can see that there is another circular pattern going on over here, and P1 cannot access R1 and P2 cannot access R2, right? Because each of them are assigned to either of the two processes respectively. That is, P1 has control of R2, so P2 cannot access it, and P2 has access of R1, so P1 cannot access it. So both of them are in a deadlock situation wherein they are waiting for each other to release those resources so that they can access it. So this was a deadlock situation, a very basic deadlock situation in our operating system scenario. So I hope you have an overview about what is a deadlock and how it happens in operating systems. But now let's understand in detail what are the particular conditions that needs to be true for a deadlock to happen in an operating system scenario. Okay, so as you can see on the screen, we have 4 conditions which needs to be true simultaneously for a deadlock to happen in your computer system, in your operating system. So what are those 4 conditions? So the first one is mutual exclusion, second one is hold and wait, third one is no preemption, and fourth one is circular wait. Now these are very important conditions which you definitely need to understand, and if you are making some notes, you can probably note down each of these in your book. And now we'll discuss each condition in detail individually. So let's start off with mutual exclusion. So in mutual exclusion, one or more than one resource are non-shareable. That is, only one process can use it at a time. So here's a scenario. We have process P1 and we have process P2. We have one resource R1 over here. Now R1 is assigned to P1, which means that P1 has access of R1. Now since the concept of mutual exclusion exists, this means that P2 cannot access R1 and R1 cannot be shared. So until and unless P1 releases the access of R1, P2 cannot access it, right? So P2 is going to be waiting for R1. So this can lead to a deadlock situation, right? So in the previous diagram of that deadlock situation in operating system, this was exactly happening, right? That is, each process was waiting for a particular resource which the other process was already holding, right? So this is that mutual exclusion condition. Now let's see what is hold and wait. So in hold and wait, a process is holding at least one resource. So it can hold more than one, but it is holding at least one resource and is waiting for other resources too. So let's see a diagram and understand this in more detail. So again, we have P1 which is process 1, we have P2 which is process 2. Now P1 already has 2 resources, so it is holding R1 and R2. Okay, so R1 and R2 assigned to P1, right? Now P1 wants a third resource, R3. So P1 is waiting for R3 and it won't release R1 and R2 till it gets R3. But R3, that is this resource R3 over here, is assigned to P2. So P2 holds R3. So since P2 is holding R3, P1 cannot access it and it is waiting for R3 because of this mutual exclusion condition. And P1 is waiting for R3. So because P1 is waiting for R3, P1 will not release R1 and R2 even if the work of accessing this resources is done. So this is what this yellow statement says. It won't release R1 and R2 till it gets access of R3. So this is that hold and wait condition. So it's holding R1 and R2, that is 2 resources, but it is waiting for R3. Which means that even if the work of R1 and R2 is done by P1, and let's say there is another process P3 who wants access of R1 and R2, P3 will not get that access of R1 and R2 until P1 gets access of R3, which is held by P2. So then P1 goes into a deadlock situation of waiting for R3, and P3 also goes in a deadlock situation for waiting for R2, right? And this is just because of one resource being held by P2. So I hope you understood what is hold and wait. So let's see the third one, that is no preemption. Now as the name suggests, preemption means preempting a particular process, which means stopping a process in between. Okay, that is the literal meaning of preemption in operating systems. So whenever you say I preempted my activity, which means that you exited your activity or stopped your activity in between. So no preemption means you cannot stop an activity in between. So this states that a resource cannot be taken from a process unless the process releases the resource. Okay, this makes sense, right? It's pretty simple to understand in text, but let's see diagrammatically what is happening. So here is a process P1. Now P1 is holding a resource R1 over here in green. Okay, so R1 is assigned to P1, or in other words you can say P1 holds R1. Now, if there is no preemption, nothing else can stop or make P1 release this resource until unless P1 finishes it or decides to release it. So here's a scenario wherein there is a third person operating system, and operating system wants to stop P1 from holding this R1, but OS cannot interrupt now because there is no preemption condition. So this is a third party which wants to stop P1 from accessing R1, but it cannot do so because we have no preemption. Okay, so this is that meaning of no preemption, which means a resource cannot be taken from a process unless the process releases the resource. So it is on this process to release this resource R1 when it feels that it has completed its activity. So this can lead to a deadlock situation. So what if the process P1 doesn't release R1 ever? So if there is certain other process P2, it will never get access of R1 even if it wants to, right? Because of mutual exclusion. So again, non-preemption or no preemption results into deadlock scenarios. And let's see what is the last scenario, that is circular wait. So this is that diagram which we saw of deadlock situation in the previous slide. So in circular wait, a set of processes are waiting for each other in a circular form. So here P1 requests for R1, you can see, but R1 is assigned to P2. So P1 cannot access it, right? R1 is assigned to P2. Now P2 wants R2. So P2 requests R2, but it cannot access R2 because R2 is assigned to P1, right? So P1 holds R2. So this is that circular pattern that is happening over here. So P1 is waiting for R1, P2 is waiting for R2, but both of them cannot access it because they have access to other resources. That is, they have access to opposite resources which they are requesting for, right? So this is that circular wait scenario. So these are the 4 very important conditions for a deadlock to happen in an operating system scenario. And I hope you have a very good idea about all these 4 conditions. You can probably note these points down and you can also draw these diagrams for better understanding. So now let's move ahead and see some important strategies and important ways in which a deadlock can be prevented or a deadlock can be recovered from. So in general, there are 3 ways to handle deadlocks, and then there are 3 other strategies also which can be used to deal with deadlocks. So let's discuss first the 3 ways to handle deadlocks. Now the 3 ways are deadlock prevention or avoidance, which means that the idea is to not let the system into a deadlock state itself. So even before the deadlock happens, you predict that there is going to be a deadlock happening depending upon those conditions that we discussed in the previous slide. So if those conditions are going to be true, you make certain calculations and you avoid the deadlock happening itself. Okay, so this is step number 1, or this is method number 1. Method number 2 is deadlock detection and recovery. So what if you are not able to prevent the deadlock, you are not able to avoid the deadlock, and what if a deadlock has actually happened? So the next method would be to actually detect that there is a deadlock happening, right? So the system has to detect that, okay, this process is waiting for a resource for a long time. So let's see if there is a deadlock or not. So that is deadlock detection. And then once detected, what are we going to do about it to recover from the deadlock, to resolve that deadlock? So in this, we let the deadlock occur, but then we do certain techniques like preemption or rollback to handle it once it is occurred. Okay, so this is the different strategies and we'll come to that in a minute. And the last method is to ignore the problem altogether. And yeah, this is a pretty careless way to put it, but then if the deadlock is very rare and the operations are not critical, then just let the deadlock happen and reboot the system. So this is not usually the scenario in real world cases. You need to have a system in place which prevents or avoids deadlocks, or at least detects and recovers deadlocks. Okay, so in this third step, we just ignore the problem and pretend that deadlocks never occurred in the system and just reboot the system. So this is very easy, but then in real world scenarios, when the task and processes are critical, you do not do step number 3. Now the strategies, as I mentioned, to handle deadlocks are preemption. So what if a deadlock has happened, right? So we can take a resource from one process and give it to other. So that no preemption condition, we reverse it and we perform preemption, which means that we stop a process from accessing a resource externally and then give it to other process which was demanding it, and then we resolve the deadlock. But then this sometimes causes other problems, that one process is stopped in between, right? So another way is to have a rollback. So in situation where deadlock is really possible, the system can periodically make records of the state of each process. So you keep a record of the state of every process from time to time, and if deadlock happens, then you roll back to a previous state that you have saved for that process. So there is a little bit of loss of progress between the process, but then you at least have something to recover from, right? So you have a rollback situation over here. So this is pretty much possible. And lastly, we have kill one or more processes, which means that whichever processes are in deadlock, you probably just kill them. And this is the simplest way, but then you have to again restart that process, and you cannot guarantee that again deadlock will not happen. So yeah, these are the few methods of handling deadlock. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope you understood this topic of deadlocks. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, spread the knowledge. And if you haven't yet subscribed on this channel, make sure you subscribe so that you get notified whenever I upload a new video. And for that, you can turn on the notifications as well. So thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.